So, Jamie, can you tell us about your reed making setup? What gouge do you use? What shaper tip do you recommend? And what is your tying length?
Yes, I have 2 Farillo gouging machines, and thankful I have 2.
Yes.
Yeah, because when one leaves me, I am...
Without a gouging machine.
Yes.
It leaves you in a pickle, quite.
I can't imagine that. And it wasn't until I got this job that I had 2 gouging machines. So I don't know what I did before then, but I'm very thankful now. Mm-hmm. And I do have an Inaletti machine as well. I use that machine mostly for kind of pre-gouging purposes, just to kind of save my blade. I know I've heard, some people like the purity of using one gouging machine for entire piece of cane. I've done that. Honestly, I haven't really noticed that much of a difference. The better the gouge and the better the blade. My dream reeds are usually on my Farillo machine, I'll say that. And then shaper tip, I have a Gilbert one that I bought from John Farillo when I was at school. I think the only time, actually, that I had to kind of differ from that is actually, Courtney, you're involved with this.
What did I do?
No, I was coming back from a trip to Canada, and my bag with all my oboe tools was lost.
Oh, my gosh. That's terrifying.
And I was coming back, and the next week, the season was starting up again. It was in January. And I remember calling Mr. Farillo, and you were in Boston at that point, and you guys were so nice and basically put together a whole setup and then sent it to me.
Yes.
All
how
new
nice.
stuff. It was so great.
You saved the day.
Yeah, and it was really great because the suitcase was actually not lost. It just was delayed for about maybe a week. But in that time, it was the policy of United Airlines that they had to I had to replace my equipment because I needed it for my work. Yeah. And so I got a check and it covered it all.
Nice.
Oh my gosh.
So now I have 2 sets of everything. It's great.
That was remarkable.
Yeah.
That happened. Oh my gosh. Thank you, United Airlines.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't have had 2 sets if I just hadn't lost my bag. Yeah. So Gilbert one has been great. I think it's an older Gilbert one. So the shape is maybe a little bit wider than one that you'd buy now.
Did you know that you can't buy the Gilbert one shaper tip anymore?
What?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Huh? What?
Yes, I am not kidding you.
Are you serious? Are you serious?
I am very serious. Check out their...
Even the new ones you can't buy. We'll edit this out. Are you kidding me?
Oh, no.
Now there's just no Gilbert?
There's the Gilbert -1, the -1N, and the +1, but there's no 1.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so hang on to that. Hang on to your ones.
Okay, so this is advice that I got from Mr. Farillo after that incident. You don't have to check your shaper tips. Yeah, take them off of the handle and then just always have them on you.
Yeah.
Never get them lost.
I'm a little paranoid about that, too, actually. I put it in my zipper compartment where I keep my reeds and my oboe.
How long do you tie on your Gilbert one?
I tie mine around 73 and a half or 73 3/4. I kind of eyeball it on my ruler between the half and the 74 mark. My finish lengths are usually my orchestra is at 442.
That's high for an American orchestra.
It was switched to 442 officially by Christoph Eschenbach, who hired me. I'm very thankful to him for that. I don't know. I think it's a European thing where I think in Europe it's still it's usually higher, right?
443 or
444, yeah.
Yeah, so I think they had this reasoning about, soloists being used to it at that level, so.
Oh, that makes sense, of course.
But, during COVID times, I'm not playing with them, so I can kind of go
Ease
back
back
to 40. Yeah, I can practice at a nice 440.
Like an old friend coming back to old 440.
Yeah, it's really nice. I do, even for 442, this was Anne Gabriel actually that gave me this advice, but I still practice drones at 440 and practice my warm-up kind of in the 440 realm because it's easier to push up than it is to stay in 440 zone.
I'm glad to hear that you do drone work. I always trying to encourage my students to do more drone work. That can be very meditative as well.
Yeah.
And one final setup question. What type of staples do you prefer?
I use Glowtan staples and Glowtan mandrel. I get them from Harvard Double Reed. I like the brass ones a little bit more than the silver ones, but I'll use both of them. But I do tend, when I take the reed apart, the ones that I like tend to be on brass staples. So I only know after the fact.
If you could go back in time, do you have any reed advice you would give to your younger self?
Yes. Just talking about all of these reed mentors, sometimes that can get pretty confusing because even if they all work together with their information, you can kind of get bogged down in some of the one-liners or the rules. When I'm at the reed desk, and more often than not am in that panic state, which is not helpful. Usually, if you're in that panic state, leave the room and just come back another time.
Step away from the room.
Very fair, yes. Away from
But, yeah, definitely. But it's important to kind of understand that these statements and these rules can be thought out logically. But when I'm in that state, I'm only hearing like, don't put too much in the back. Make sure you don't rub your, knife on the emery paper too much, or all of these things. And you're like, okay, I won't do this. I won't do this. I won't do this. And then, but if you think about, okay, why? What is the purpose of using the emery paper with this beveled knife? What is it supposed to be doing? Okay, it's supposed to be taking off the burr. Okay, it's taking off the burr. Okay, then I can proceed. If you kind of take a step back and understand what these one-liners are, then and logically prove them yourself, then I think it's a lot more impactful. So I think I tended to want the quick solution. So I would ask, like, what do I need to do with this reed now? But not really get the kind of explanation of what they were saying. I mean, I'm sure they provided it, but I just wanted the one medicine approach,
It sort of reminds me of the movie Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman. And he's an actor, and he says, I'm supposed to step off the bench now? But what's my motivation for stepping off the bench? It's sort of when you said, but why am I rubbing my knife against the emery board? It's like, what is my motivation for doing that? And then you don't have to think twice about it. Then it's when you come to it yourself, and then sort of that self-discovery moment, it's like, you can be more effective because you have now your motivation for following through with this one-liner that your teacher told you.
Yeah, I think, and so what I wish I did was take that information and go work on it right away so I could really internalize what they're trying to say, prove it wrong, which usually it wasn't wrong ever, but try to prove it wrong. And then I think it would stick more as a solid, logical information than just a floating rule in my head that just kind of spins.
Right. Oh, that makes perfect sense. Oh, that's great advice. I love that.
I'll need to listen to that myself, even like tomorrow and the next day. So.
Right. We definitely need to take our own advice sometimes.
Yeah.
That's true. Do you have any wisdom to share regarding keeping a healthy balance between practice and reed making, and what does this look like in your life?
Yeah, I think, definitely the warming up before you touch any kind of reed tools. Oh, and then also, when you have no reeds to practice.
That I love.
Me too.
That's
going up on the wall in the studio.
Yeah, that's going to appear.
Maybe even a bumper sticker.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to also put it on my wall as well. Yeah, Peggy Michael, genius. What I've found pretty helpful in these days when I don't have anyone or anything to prepare for, I've been kind of going through some of the orchestra rep that I love or haven't played, and I'll just go through some of the pieces that I had a great time playing or I thought was like really hard and I'll never be able to play that again or something like that, and just playing it with different recordings that I like. Mm-hmm. Practicing it in context with other people, even though there aren't anyone actually there with you.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And you're also practicing the blending. You're kind of pretending like you're in an orchestra. And I'll do this when I'm preparing for the orchestra, just so I get more familiar with every part of it, not just solos or, major woodwind parts.
Yeah.
And then also it helps with the reeds, because today I was going through Bartók Concerto for Orchestra, and the main moments always stand out to you, but there's lots of moments where there are intimate wind chords that you have to be very soft on. So it was really helpful to inform me about my reeds and, my support and different things like that. And it's just nice to stay in touch with some of these great pieces that are just not being really played right now.
Right. Well, that's important kind of practice too, because it contextualizes your intonation. So that kind of practice is a great way to supplement that drone work too, and it's fun. Just playing with the karaoke orchestra is like one of my favorite pastimes.
Oh yeah, that's great. I love that term. I will use that. Yeah, no, there was a time in the NSO when we didn't have an assistant principal flute player, so the piccolo player and the second flute player would take turns playing that role. One of them would always talk about which orchestra did you play with yesterday? And I was like, well, I played with Boston. And she's like, oh, I played with Philly. And it just it was just a joke between us. As someone who hasn't been in the orchestra for that long, and now it seems like longer, but, a lot of this rep is still new. Mm-hmm. So I still have to kind of learn it to a different degree than my colleagues who've been playing it for 30 years.
Oh,
or whatever.
Sure. And just knowing what it feels like. What should you feel like during the rest, right before a big solo? Like that's something you can only do in the real life situation, or second best is play with the recording.
Exactly. Yeah, and playing with different orchestras too. Then you have different
different interpretations. Yeah. Mm-hmm.